Alright guys, Maidenslave here, and today I'm going to be talking about Iron Maiden versus Judas Priest. Um, I've been talking about doing this versus for a very long time, um, and the reason why I have taken so long is because I was trying to figure out how to do it. Um, and I also realized that there was no credible versus here to begin with. There was, for me, nothing much to do here. I like versuses that are even, you know, um, and I know by the end of this video, a lot of people are gonna be calling me probably biased and all this stuff, but you know, it's just it's the truth. It's my truth, and so the reason why I have been trying to think about how I'm going to do this for so long is because, um, yeah, these bands have a legendary rivalry, um, but they're very different from each other. Judas Priest had a lot of albums that came out in the 70s that predated Iron Maiden. About five, I think, maybe even more, but I'm pretty sure around five, including a live album. Um, and yeah, I mean, if you're really gonna compare them, like it should be the '80s because Judas Priest became a big part of the new wave of British heavy metal when they got rejuvenated in the '80s. It's easy to compare these bands in the '90s with the replacement singers, with the big frontmen leaving and doing their solo thing. It's easy to compare these bands in the 2000s when they both reunited with their ex singers. Um, so I have actually cut this versus down in two different categories, um, but I am forewarning you that it is a very lopsided match, in my opinion, and I know a lot of you guys are probably already guessing, which band I favor, and you can go ahead and think that I'm a fanboy, but just go watch um, my review of The Final Frontier. That's all I'm going to say about that. But anyways, without further ado, let's just start this mother fudger. Alright, so category one is the vocals. I know we're starting off on a bang here. Um, heavily debated. Probably the most debated thing about these two bands actually is the vocals because Rob Halford, Bruce Dickinson, two of the best metal vocalists in history, high screamers. Um, a lot of people would call this one a tie. And then there's something else that you might not be thinking about as well as Tim Owens and Blaze Bayley. That those factor in too. Paul Di'Anno's a big factor. You might even say, Rob Halford's vocal style in the '70s is different than his vocal style in the '80s. It's different than his vocal style on Painkiller. It's different than his vocal style on, so many things going on just in this one category. Just to give you kind of an idea of what I've been struggling with in my own mind about this entire versus. But without a doubt, I have to give this round to Judas Priest. I mean, it's Rob Halford. I personally like Bruce Dickinson more, but Rob Halford is the greatest heavy metal vocalist of all time. He's more dynamic. He has more range, and he can just do more than any of the singers in Iron Maiden. Pretty much at any point in his career. And even nowadays, if I look at the last Iron Maiden album and compare it to the last Priest album, he's singing better than Bruce now. So, yeah, this round does go to Judas Priest. The guitars are probably the second most debated um, category as far as this whole versus goes because, yeah, both of these bands have two of the best guitar duos in heavy metal history. Dave Murray, Adrian Smith, KK Downing, Glenn Tipton is the big versus. The whole twin lead thing is pretty much how it goes, and I've mixed them too because they both play rhythm and they both play lead. So I just said the duo guitar players. Um, And I wasn't really thinking about Yannick Gers in this whole situation. To be quite honest, I was really thinking about the two main players from each band. Um, and when I first thought about this, I was like, Iron Maiden, they're they're gonna win. And then I thought more, and then I was like, the Priest has to win this one because I mean these guys, Glenn Tipton and KK Downing inspired Iron Maiden in so many ways to do twin leads. Um, but that, in my opinion, seniority should not be that big of a factor. I don't really like to believe in the whole seniority thing. But they are good. They're damn good players. They're damn good twin lead players. So I actually gave this round a tie for Iron Maiden and Priest. They both have excellent guitar duos. So yeah. Yeah, the next category is the bass guitar, and this undoubtedly goes to Iron Maiden. This is no contest. You have one of the greatest bass players, most influential bass players um, in heavy metal history, in music history, versus pretty much a no-name bass player who plays with the guitar players every single riff all the time. Um, yeah, Iron Maiden, no contest on this one. The drums. Okay. This was a little bit complicated. Again, because you have multiple drummers in each band. And I know a lot of people are probably thinking Nico McBrain, obviously, and Scott Travis, right? But really, Scott has been playing since 1990. That's when he did his best work, in my opinion. Nico has been playing since '83. He's done excellent work in that band. Um, and there was a lot of drummers in Judas Priest. Um, the whole '80s, the '70s, they had multiple drummers, and they were good. Pretty much all of them were pretty good. Some of them were really innovative. Um, but it came down basically to, um, I was dealing, because both of these bands have had skillful drummers. Um, so then it came down to the point of being innovative. And Nico McBrain and Clive Burr, by the way, are some of the most innovative drummers in history. Um, Nico McBrain pretty much took off where John Bonham left, with the single bass drum carrying the torch of this incredible right foot, how fast he was, especially in the '80s. Ridiculous galloping with one bass drum. Not to I mean, and not to mention his handwork is so fast. Huge drum kit, just so innovative, so inspiring to any single bass drum player and any drummer really at the time and nowadays. Clive Burr was also very innovative, very influential to the entire thrash movement. I have heard Dave Lombardo and Lars Ulrich say that those early Iron Maiden albums, Iron Maiden Killers, were very, very influential to them, and they really admired Clive's work for, he didn't have double bass drums, but he was doing a lot of the things that future double bass drum players would do with his ride cymbal and everything, kind of complementing the bass drum, like on Phantom of the Opera and stuff like that. So, as far as Judas Priest goes, Scott Travis was excellent, and he did an amazing job on Painkiller. Yeah, I forgot their drummer in the '80s, pretty much because he's forgettable. He got the job done, basically. It just kind of always seems like, except for on Painkiller, um, a drummer in Judas Priest gets the job done. They're never a big part of the music, whereas in Iron Maiden, I mean, I know a lot of people think about the vocals, they think about the amazing solos, they think about the bass from Steve Harris, but really, I mean, there's always been an excellent drummer in Iron Maiden, an innovative drummer in Iron Maiden. So yeah, I'm gonna have to give this one to Maiden. So the next category is musicianship slash live thing. This was pretty vague as well, but um, I have to give it to Iron Maiden again. I just do. I mean, Priest, they're good. they're good musicians at times, but a lot of times they're very lazy musicians, and they end up writing a lot of the same stuff, record after record, especially in the '80s. I mean, in Iron Maiden, you have the genius, absolute virtuoso of Steve Harris. Um, it's almost impossible to beat his musical writing skills. And Iron Maiden actually take their live show. I've always take their live show more serious than even recording an album. And I mean, Iron Maiden have some of the biggest live shows in history, some of the biggest tours, visually and the way that they perform. Even lately, I don't think that they've been performing that well. And they were recently voted the best live act, probably for like the thousandth time. But everybody knows, Iron Maiden, fantastic, fantastic musicians, always in that band. The standard has been at an absolute high since they got started. And yeah, I mean, jeez. That's all I'm gonna say. Iron Maiden wins this one. Next category is influence / legacy. Um, Now, Judas Priest and Iron Maiden are pretty much equally as influential on metal, and for completely different reasons. Iron Maiden influenced a lot of people that are very serious about music, um, you know, about musicianship, about live performance, um, and a lot of people that are influenced by Judas Priest are very serious about being commercially successful. It's like they both kind of took two different sides of influence. Now Iron Maiden are commercially successful. Judas Priest are really good musicians, but they're two different extremes. Iron Maiden influenced a lot of power metal bands who have a great emphasis on music. A lot of progressive metal bands who have a great emphasis on music. Judas Priest have influenced a lot of bands who have bridged the gap over to commercial success. Very similar to what Metallica did in 1991. Because it's very hard to write good music and to also bridge that gap of commercial success. Not to mention they're a big influence on anybody who's in a heavy metal band. And they were really good at kind of crossing the aisle into different genres. Whereas Iron Maiden were very kind of introverted in a lot of ways, and like, we're gonna do what we want to do. We're gonna play really good music. Our musicianship is gonna be at an ultimate level, and really you can grab both influences and put them together, and it'd be just a very successful band. So this actual round is a tie. And the last category is the discography. This was the absolute most complicated, most hard to work with. The reason why I have not made this video 1,000 times already. It's just so hard. Like I said in the beginning of the video, these bands are so different. And to be quite honest, no matter how I stacked their discographies against each other, Iron Maiden took it easily every single time. Now you can go ahead and say this guy is so biased for Iron Maiden and he's such a fanboy. I'm not. I really am not. I like Judas Priest. I really do. I like a lot of things about them. They have great music. But they're just not as good as Iron Maiden, especially when it comes to the actual music. And I will show you how I stack their discographies against each other in different ways. Iron Maiden took the cake every single time, no matter what. Now, Judas Priest has 16 albums, and Iron Maiden has 15 albums. And I actually took all of their albums, album for album, 1 through 16. And I even gave, because Judas Priest has one more album than Iron Maiden, Nostradamus, I gave it to Judas Priest for free. And Iron Maiden still won. Let's just go through it really quick. Rock-A-Roller versus Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden won. Sad Wings versus Killers. Sad Wings won. Sin After Sin versus Number of the Beast. Number of the Beast won. Stained Class versus Peace of Mind. Peace of Mind won. Hellbent for Leather versus Power Slave. Power Slave won. British Steel versus Somewhere in Time. Somewhere in Time won. Some people might strongly disagree with me on that, but I'm just being honest. Point of Entry versus Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. Seventh Son of a Seventh Son destroyed it. Screaming for Vengeance versus No Prayer for the Dying. Screaming won that one. Defenders of the Faith versus Fear the Dark. Defenders won that one. Turbo versus X Factor. X Factor won that one. Ram It Down versus Virtual 11. Virtual 11 won that one. Painkiller versus Brave New World. Painkiller won that one. Jugulator versus Dance of Death. Dance of Death won that one. Demolition versus A Matter of Life and Death. A Matter of Life and Death won that one. Angel Retribution versus The Final Frontier. Angel won that one. And Nostradamus, they got it for free. And still, at the end, we have Iron Maiden with 10 and Judas Priest with 6. There you go. That's all their albums stacked against each other, one by one. Now, the other idea that I had that I also calculated was taking albums that they both had that came out the same year from like 1980 to 1990, because I believe they had albums come out the same year. A lot of these albums are actually very similar in a lot of ways, major releases by each band. So in 1980, British Steel came out by Judas Priest. Iron Maiden came out by Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden is a better album than British Steel. You can say whatever you want. I know British Steel is very important for Judas Priest, but if we're talking about the music, Iron Maiden, one of the best albums of all time. Screaming for Vengeance and Number of the Beast came out in 1982. Number of the Beast takes it. It wins. It's a better album. It absolutely. Defenders of the Faith and Power Slave came out in 1984. Power Slave takes this easily. I love Defenders of the Faith, but when it comes down to it, Power Slave just takes it. Turbo and Somewhere in Time came out in 1986. A lot of these albums both have a lot in common, but Somewhere in Time is the better album. Like I have said before, when it comes down to it, Somewhere in Time is Iron Maiden, Turbo is Judas Priest. Iron Maiden is better than Judas Priest. When you get down to the bones of it, Somewhere in Time wins it. Ram It Down and Seventh Son of a Seventh Son came out in 1988. I don't even think I have to say who won that one. And Painkiller and No Prayer for the Dying came out in 1990. Painkiller won that one. So in this, out of what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 albums, Iron Maiden wins 5. Judas Priest wins 1. Maiden won it again. Now I also did the Blaze Bayley albums versus the Tim Ripper albums. Owens. They both had 2 albums in each band. Jugulator, X Factor. X Factor wins. Demolition versus Virtual 11. Virtual 11 wins. You can even do X Factor versus Demolition. X Factor will win. You can do Jugulator versus Virtual 11. Virtual 11 will win. Out of 2, Iron Maiden gets 2. Judas Priest gets none. The reunion albums. Angel Retribution. Brave New World. Brave New World wins. Absolutely. Way better than Angel Retribution. So, Iron Maiden wins the discography match. So at the end of the day, I think I added this up right, and if I didn't, it's going to be added up right after this anyways. I have Maiden with 6, Judas Priest with 3, which honestly is a big surprise to me. I really, after really thinking about it, thought Iron Maiden was going to destroy Judas Priest, and that is another reason why I was hesitant about doing this. I always like my matches to be close, otherwise I don't see the point in one band destroying another band. But that's how it is for me. I'm sure that there is going to be plenty of people out there that are going to have a lot to say about this, but I'm just going to tell you that I tried so hard to be objective on this one. And in my opinion, at the end of the day, I just think that there's no contest here. A lot of people have talked about it for a very long time, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest. They're both really cool bands. They're both from England. They're both very influential. They're both successful, and they're metal, and, they're both, Priest and Maiden, man. It's Priest and Maiden. And yeah, that's cool and everything. But when it comes to Priest versus Maiden, there's nothing there, to me. There's absolutely nothing there. that's just how it is. That's just how it is for me. I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys think about this one. I really actually want to hear the other side. You know, of somebody who probably likes Priest more than Maiden. As long as you don't get personal and stupid, that I'm very much looking forward to hearing this. Just to talk about it. You know, it's just something to talk about. So yeah. Um, Tell me who you guys think would win this versus. Um, you can just say whoever you think won. You can use the categories that I used. You can make up your own categories. So I'll see you guys later.